So today we have some very exciting tidbits for the Kenobi show, The Mandalorian Season 3 and The Acolyte, but we begin with Kenobi, and thanks to Star Wars concept artist Koji Tajima, we have close looks at the live-action versions of Tera Sinube and Pablo Jill. Now if you remember in episode 4, these two were amongst the several Jedi in stasis on Fortress Inquisitorius, and while we've already had a live-action Pablo Jill in the prequel trilogy, Kenobi was a live-action first for the Clone Wars favourite Tera Sinube, and I must say he looks absolutely incredible close up like this. In the Kenobi show we only saw him in the Amber Chamber, so we didn't get a proper look at him, and so this is our first proper picture of Tera Sinube and what he would look like normally. And a fun fact about him, his appearance is based on unused concept art for episode 1 The Phantom Menace. So his design and his overall appearance is fundamentally a Lucas era one. Now notice for the other Jedi I said Pablo Jill and not Coleman Kaj. Well, this is what StarWars.com and the concept artist himself say that this Jedi is. In reality, as a lot of Star Wars fans pointed out, it does look much more like Coleman Kaj than Pablo Jill. The biggest giveaway being that Pablo Jill has a beak, but the physical differences are very subtle, and Star Wars insist this is Pablo Jill. And so now a big question is, if Obi-Wan Kenobi gets a season 2, should these Jedi be freed from Fortress Inquisitorius on the moon of Nar? And the reason I say this is some fans believe these Jedi are not dead, but rather they're being kept alive by Palpatine for their DNA and they're just in hibernation, kind of like carbonite chambers. I did explore this theory when Kenobi episode 4 dropped, and I explained why Palpatine would want to use these for his later contingency plan, and I for one would love to see these Jedi escape and see Jedi like Master Tera Sinube actually interact with the other characters. As Clone Wars fans, that'd be certainly very satisfying. And so now, my dear Mandalorians, we move on to The Acolyte because we've got some more casting news. Just like the previous reports for this show over the last week and a half, this one again involves a big actor. Exclusive from The Hollywood Reporter, they say that Russian doll actor Charlie Barnett is in talks to join the series. Charlie is going from loops to lightsabers. The actor best known for starring opposite Natasha Lyonne in the Netflix series Russian Doll is in final negotiations to join The Acolyte. If the deal makes, Barnett will be reunited with the co-creator of Russian Doll Leslie Headland, who is writing, showrunning and directing the Star Wars series. Plot details are still being kept under wraps, and apart from the leaks we had a couple of months ago, nothing else is known. All we know is that we're dealing with the final years of the High Republic. There are rumours of Darth Plagueis, amongst other Sith Lords, in the Golden Age for the Jedi, but there are dark side powers emerging, just brewing beneath the surface, and that is what the series deals with. While we don't know who Charlie Barnett is playing, sources claim that the role is supporting in nature and not part of the main cast. And so now, my dear Mandalorians, let's talk about The Mandalorian Season 3. We've been discussing the show in depth after the teaser trailer dropped at D23 Expo. I broke down the main parts. We've also spoken about comments made by Pedro Pascal, Giancarlo Esposito, and Katie Sackhoff. And as we get closer to the end of 2022, a lot more details about the show are emerging. We generally get a picture of the tone, the larger scale, and certain plot points that are going to be explored. Now amongst them is the return to Mandalore, but we've spoken in depth about that in the past. But one familiar planet from the previous 2 seasons that again is going to make its way into the third is Nevarro. And there's a moment from the Season 3 teaser trailer, Mandalorians dropping down on Nevarro and attacking. So what's the situation and what's the context? Well, let's step back a moment and analyse this. Nevarro was home to the Bounty Hunters Guild in Season 1, the one that Din Djarin worked for. Greef Karga gave him bounties, and Mando delivered results. He was even despised by the Bounty Hunters because he delivered Grogu to the client, but it was also where the first covert of the tribe was before they had to flee the planet. But what's clear is that with Greef Karga and Marshal Cara Dune, the city of Nevarro grew more and more expansive with each passing season. It became so prosperous that by the time of Season 3, at least according to the footage, it appears to be a bustling metropolis, one where you'd assume Mando feels safe on because Greef Karga is a constant friend to Mando, and as such, it's going to be interesting to see why Mandos are going to return to this planet. The most likely option, in my opinion, is due to the pirates we see in the trailer. Making Star Wars brought this up in one of their leaks, and the big plot dump on the Reddit Star Wars leaks page also stated the same, that a group of smugglers and pirates are going to use Nevarro as their base. Obviously, Greef Karga, being sensible, does not want anything to do with them. As a last resort, he contacts Mando, and by this point, Din Djarin probably already went to Mandalore, so he's already got some other Mandos on his side, and so that's why they drop down on Nevarro and a shootout ensues. It's not Mandalorians attacking the city, but rather defending it. Now, there are many shots in the trailer of Greef and his new and improved city, continuity, and this makes me think Nevarro is going to be a big part of this season. Carl Weathers' character Greef Karga has some fantastic new clothes, and it's evidence that until the pirates dropped down, Nevarro was prospering. So what's in it for the Mandalorians to defend Nevarro? Well, I suspect not only loyalty to Din as the Darksaber wielder, but maybe Greef Karga proposed a deal. In exchange for keeping Nevarro safe, Greef Karga might allow the tribe to once again have their covert on the planet. After all, Nevarro is much more safe than it was when they left, and since Din was expelled from the Children of the Watch, and the mines of Mandalore are destroyed so he can't atone, this could be a way for him to gain favour with his tribe once again. And there is evidence to back this up too. A Season 3 rumour stated that the tribe are no longer using the Glavis ring world from the Book of Boba Fett by the time of Mando Season 3, so maybe they return to Nevarro or are given the option to. It might not be in their best interest though, and they might choose a different planet altogether. After all, a big part of this season is retaking Mandalore. But just getting to see the Mandalorians fight against a pirate invasion is going to be a true spectacle to see. And if this is the case, we've got to wonder what Mandalorians are fighting with Din. Are they members of the tribe, or considering most of them are blue, is Din finally on good terms with Bo-Katan again, and are these the Nite Owls? Bo-Katan's crew does make a lot more sense, since in the meantime, Din is no longer welcome amongst the Children of the Watch. Another possibility of an exchange is that once the Mandalorians have secured Nevarro and it's safe, Karga could help the Mandalorians with their ships and supplies to take back Mandalore. This would not only be beneficial to the Mandos, but could also be a way of atonement for Din Djarin. Restoring the homeworld is certainly much more important and much more significant than the act of removing his helmet. The trailer for The Mandalorian Season 3 had a plethora of clues of what we can expect. There's so much to look forward to, not only with Din and the Mandalorians, but also the next chapter of Grogu's story. Really exciting stuff. And so finally, my dear friends, we're going to be talking about Star Wars Eclipse, the video game which seemed to be in the very distant future, with some fans thinking it would never happen, but it turns out it is very much on track. Not only this, but Quantic Dream reassured fans in a new interview that the game is going to retain the fundamentals of Quantic Dream's game design. This is really exciting because Quantic Dream make games in a very unconventional way, prioritizing consequences and various outcomes based on the choices the player makes. So IGN Japan recently spoke to Quantic Dream CEO Guillaume de Fontomière, and he stated that Star Wars Eclipse is going to be very much in line with the other titles, even with a much larger scope and potentially a greater variety of gameplay. In his own words, he says, "I think with each new title we try to innovate, we try to explore new ground. With Star Wars Eclipse, we're certainly going to keep the fundamental elements of a Quantic Dream game, very strong story, very strong characters, multiple playable characters, and of course, giving the players the possibility to change through their actions and decisions how the story unfolds." I think this is excellent news for all Star Wars fans, especially Star Wars gaming fans, because it provides the franchise with a game style that's never been done before. The cinematic trailer they released was absolutely epic. Of course, it's not gameplay representative, but Quantic Dream are aiming for it. But they do warn the game is not going to hit shelves until 2027 at the earliest, so very distant future stuff. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. Are you going to be playing Star Wars Eclipse when it comes out? What do you make of this and everything we spoke about in today's video? If you enjoyed this one, as always, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. You can find me on Twitter at StarWarsMeg1. But until the next one, my dear friends, may the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg. Have a good one.